Hi there guys, welcome to today's hypnosis lesson. Today we're looking at the alternative fast phobia cure. Now I prefer this one, I think it's really good, it's really fast. It's a little bit less complicated, but some people kind of struggle with it. But the main reason that you're going to use this one over the one we did in the last lesson is because there's not really any visualization required, and some people find visualization quite difficult. This one's all about tuning into your feelings, noticing where feelings are in your body, and then kind of moving them around and throwing some different stuff in there. First of all, in order to be able to do this, it really helps if the person can feel some fear. So what you would need to do straight off the bat is to get them to think about whatever thing scares them and kind of project them into that reality, so really get them fully associated into it so they can get those feelings until when you ask them from 0 to 100 how scary is this experience, we've got quite a high number. Now whenever you do any kind of change work like this, always check beforehand where their phobic response is at the moment from 0 to 100, so that once we've gone through the process you can kind of check again and we can see how much that's come down. Because most people don't really realise how much they were scared of something before once they've actually gone through the change. So when they've got a number, it's really encouraging for them. So this one's a little bit different. It works when we're feeling the fear. So it's a good thing to use if someone's in a situation where the thing that scares them is going to happen, is kind of imminent. So let's say if someone's about to give a best man speech at a wedding and they've just cornered you in the toilet saying, look, I've got to get up there and give a speech at the moment, can you do anything to kind of help me get through this? This would be a good technique to use in that situation. It's quick, it's easy, and it really helps if they're feeling the fear. Similarly, EFT, emotional freedom therapy, which used to be called thought field therapy or technique, one or the other, that's the tapping technique. That's also one of those last minute things. So when someone's actually feeling the fear, the tapping technique works just as well as this. I will be talking about that later, but for now, fast phobia cure. When you do this, there's a thing that you have to do which almost everybody doesn't get. It's like when you kind of explain it to someone, they're sort of, I don't really know what you mean, or I can't really do that, it's quite difficult. Now beneath this video, there is another video. It's just audio, it isn't actually a video, but it's like a YouTube embedded thing, but it's only audio content. But it's an entire session which I did with a client going back a couple of years now, who was, she had a phobia of thunderstorms. Now, on that session, I've gone through the entire thing from beginning to end so you can see how it all fits in, how you elicit the phobic response and then kind of how you deal with that. But the bit that's normally quite difficult, and most people really don't get how you do it, she immediately got the idea and she kind of got that straight away. So if you just listened to that session, kind of copied it, and you did that with a client, it'd get to that bit and they'd be like, well, I'm not sure what you mean, and you wouldn't really know where to go. So I want to focus on that bit in this video. But first and foremost, getting the phobic response, really connect them into it, kind of brings back some of those emotions, gauge it from 0 to 100, how scary is this experience, then get them to sit down, close their eyes. If you want to, you can put them in a light trance, it isn't really necessary. Have them think about the fear and ask them where that fear is. Where is it in their body? Where does it start? Where do they feel it? So usually, most people might feel it in their belly. Now, it kind of helps to find out why a person feels the fear. I'll give you an example. Let's say, well, I'll use the thunderstorms one. The girl was petrified of thunderstorms, but she's not scared all the time. There's something that triggers that. So I kind of said, what triggers it for you? Is it seeing the weather forecast? Does that bother you? And she's like, well, no, not really, because it doesn't really feel that real then. I said, so what is it for you? And for her, it was seeing black clouds. So as soon as there were some ominous black clouds hovering in the distance, you think there is a thunderstorm and it's imminent. It's right here, we're going to get this, and the fear response would kick in. So that was kind of her trigger. So you need to find out from a person, what is it that causes them to start feeling the fear? How do they know to start feeling fear? If someone's scared of spiders, then usually what triggers the fear is actually seeing a spider. So if you use that as the trigger for the response and get them to go through that feeling, then we get the start of the fear. So then we can say, where do you feel it first? So the moment you see the spider or the moment you see the cloud, what's the first thing you feel? Now most people find this difficult, but it's usually somewhere in the stomach. So you can kind of suggest that or gesture to it. So you can sort of say, where do you feel that feeling first? Does it start down here in the belly, or does it start somewhere else? Where do you feel the fear? So normally, most people in the belly. After that, you need to find out where it goes. Now, something that Bandler says, which is a really useful thing to use, is emotions are always in motion. If they stagnated and stayed still, they were kind of habituated, you wouldn't feel them. Similarly, if you kind of just tapped in a certain place over and over again, after a while you just wouldn't feel that, because your body would think, right, this is the normal, this is the status quo, I don't need to feel this. So you'd recalibrate yourself to be able to blank that out. Now, if an emotion moves in your body and then it just stays somewhere, then that's what's going to happen. Your body will get used to it being there, you're not going to feel it anymore. So they're always in motion. So you've got to elicit from them. If it starts in your stomach, where does it go from there? Does it go down your legs? Normally they're going to say no. Does it move up into your chest? Most people will say yes. From all the clients I've had and I've done this technique with, I think all of them have had the emotion start in their stomach and then move upwards somehow. Sometimes it goes up and into their arms, sometimes it's up and into their throat, and other times it comes up into their face, but it always seems to start in the belly and move upwards. Then you need to find out where it goes from there. So most people, in my experience, it comes up and it goes forward and out like that. So you'll say, what happens next? And I'll say, well, it just seems to kind of come up and out like this. And you say, well, if it just leaves your body and goes, obviously the fear stops. Is that what happens? They go, well, no, not really. So what happens there then? Is there more fear? Do you feel any more in your stomach? It's like, yeah, I kind of do. So let's imagine the fear's kind of looping back in. Would that be fair to say? And now think about it for a bit, and they'll be like, well, yeah, that feels right. It kind of loops. So we've got this motion. Now, to get to that point, that's normally the most difficult part of the session, is to get someone to realise that something's starting somewhere, it's moving somewhere, and then it's back at the beginning again. And there is this kind of circle going on, this flowing system that it's going around and around. Once you've got there, it's all dead easy. You just have to kind of fiddle with it. Some people will say to you, I kind of feel it in my belly. Where does it go from there? Well, I get a dry throat. So it doesn't jump from one to the other, it comes up through. So get them to be able to see that. Or some people say, well, my hands get all sweaty and I can't speak properly. So we're not looking at the actual symptoms, we're looking at where the emotion is. So kind of pull them back a little bit and say, yeah, that's the kind of the stuff that it causes, but that feeling that's in your belly, when it starts to move from your belly, where do you feel it going? Now, not everyone is the same. In my experience, most people feel belly moving upwards, moving outwards and moving back in. You might find someone who's got exactly the opposite, loops around the opposite way. So don't try and fix what you think is going to be the situation onto a person. Find out what it is from them. You're going to ask to do a little bit of investigation work here and really kind of push this point of the idea of it moving somewhere. Once you've found out what that is, let's say for example that it is this, because I think 9 times out of 10 it does seem to be that. So it's starting in the belly, it's moving up towards the chest, it's then coming out in front of them and then going down and then going back in again. And it's this circular motion that's making this fear. It just keeps on building and building and building. So you've got the client thinking about that situation. They're thinking about the thing that causes the fear response. Could be a memory from the past, or maybe thinking about something they've got to do in the future if they've got something coming up that they're worried about. And at the same time, they're very aware of these emotions in their body that are circling round. And also, when you ask them, where's the fear from 0 to 100, it's probably quite high. Some people it's going to be 100, maybe it's going to be around 80 or something like that for most. The next thing you do is get them to imagine that they're grabbing this ball of fear, so they can move their physical hands to this, kind of grab hold of it, pull it out of their body and have it right here in front of themselves, and then flip the whole thing upside down. So get them to imagine doing that. Now if they have trouble with this, get them to actually move their hands. Just grab it, pull it out, flip it over, and you can show them how to do this, and then kind of put the whole thing back in again so it's upside down. Now start it spinning again, but this time make sure it's spinning in the opposite direction to what it was before. Now obviously if the person was already spinning this way, go back the other way. If the person was spinning over and out the front, then come back in. So make sure it's going the exact opposite to what it was. Now once you've done this, and you've got this feeling moving around in them, making sure at all times they continue to think about what it is that scares them, they continue to focus on this movement, we're going to kind of overload them with other emotions. So get them to spin it, get them to start spinning it faster and faster and faster, and then start throwing things in. Now, the things I like to throw in, I love throwing in the idea of a nice, relaxing, calm smile. Say, I want to just throw some more emotions in there now. So I want you to imagine that someone has got this really blissful smile on their face, not a care in the world, just completely relaxed. I want you to think about the emotions that come with that. All the time focusing on this thing that causes the fear for you, and this thing spinning around and around and faster. And I'm taking this peacefulness, this idea of having an inner smile, and I'm going to throw it right in. It's going to get caught up in this vortex spinning around, this energy in your body, and that peaceful smile is now spinning around with it. It's all mixed in with the fear, and it's all spinning around with it. Now you can take other emotions. A really, really good one that I love to use is the idea of being at school or in church or somewhere like that and having the giggles but not being allowed to giggle. So that idea of really wanting to laugh about something, especially when it's inappropriate, but not being allowed. That idea of wanting to do something but not being allowed to do something, it's really... it just gets under your skin, so you want to throw that one in there. So get the idea of being a naughty child at school, got the giggles, teacher's turned, about to write on the blackboard, and you're about to giggle. I'm going to throw this emotion in and feel it spinning around. Maybe if the person's ticklish, you can throw that emotion in, but don't get too carried away with that one, because being tickled isn't pleasant. Anything that's a positive emotion. If you know that this person's got pets and they love dogs, then you can say, I want you to imagine that you're at the park and your dogs are all frolicking around, jumping about, and you're just having a wonderful day and it feels great, and your dog's running out to you now, and you're going to give it a nice big hug. And that unconditional love that you feel for the dog and the dog feels for you, I'm just going to throw that in now. So feel it getting caught up in this spinning vortex and really feel this spinning around and around, and all the time focusing on that phobic response, that thing that you were scared of in the past. So you can see there we're already shifting it to the past. So spinning these things around, throwing different emotions into there, and if you want to, you can expand out into other modalities, so you can throw smells in there. Imagine you've just walked past a cake shop and you can smell some freshly baked bread. And I want you to throw that in there and just imagine that smell whizzing around and around, or maybe you can smell some perfume that reminds you of your grandma when you were a child. Throw that in, have it spinning around. Now, each person's different, each person will respond to things in different ways, and you can kind of elicit this information from someone at the beginning. If the person's just all about emotions, all about feelings, and they find it really hard to visualise, don't bother throwing things in there to do with visualisation, because it's going to be difficult for them. Just throw all the emotions in there. That idea of smiling and giggling and laughing, what it's like to be carefree, all that kind of stuff. So you're just throwing that in, spinning it around and around and around. Once you've done that for a while, get them to stop and break state, which normally means just get up and move around a bit. Once they've done that, have them think about the fear response again, or imagine that fear thing in the future, and then gauge it from 0 to 100. Normally it will have gone down a lot. So if it was about 80, we're probably going to be now around about 35, 40, something like that. Get them to relax, start again, get the fear going again, start spinning it, get everything turned around the opposite way, throw some more emotions in there and really get excited. Now I often talk about monotone inductions, and people that are like a roller coaster, so excitement, relax, exciting, that kind of thing. This is where you want to get excited. You want to be talking really quickly. You really want to overload their conscious mind. So just keep throwing things in there that feel wonderful. Even just words. So you can just say, I'm going to throw some words in there now. They're going to get caught up in this vortex of energy spinning around. So we're going to say funny, emotional, feeling fantastic. The emotional is probably not a good one. Happiness, delight, joy, wonder, amazement. So throw in anything in that you think is a good thing that they're going to enjoy. Once you've done that, stop it again. Take that measure, see where we are between 0 and 100, and keep on kind of repeating this process until we get down to 0. Now, exactly the same as the other phobia cure, I found just from messing around with it, from trying experiments, that some people respond to things other people don't. Imagine eating your favourite food, you can taste the flavour of your favourite food. Some people respond really well to that and it drops down loads of points. Other people it does nothing. It's nothing to do with the official fast phobia cure, but it's just through experiments. So really, just kind of have a little bit of a play with this. And if you notice something makes it go up, just take it back out again. And if something goes up, take it out and put the opposite thing in. It'll probably make it go down. So have a play with that. That's not the entire cure, that's just the bit that you'll need to focus on the most. But to get the entire thing and listen to a complete session, just press play on the video below, and there's not really any video there, but it's an audio recording of the entire session where I'm using this technique with a client. And as I say, that was a couple of years ago. I had a client really recently that is the cousin of that person, and they came to me through the recommendation, and I haven't spoke to the person since, but she said, I said, how did you get hold of my details? And she said, oh, you have my cousin. And I asked how she was getting on. She says she now loves thunderstorms and she loves when they come sitting out in the garden and watching them. So 2 years later, it's still going fine, and there's no reason she'll ever be scared of them again. We're about at 15 minutes, so that's it for today. You take care. Bye-bye.